Hello and welcome to Stammerun with me, John, a husband and a father who stammered his whole life and who's been a fitness fanatic for over 30 years. At 37 discovered that he could run, and now this is what we do. We talk about stammering and everything to do with your running. Today we're going to be looking at an essential piece of kit in my humble opinion, the headphone. What headphones are the best? And to give you a clue, these are my favourites, so let's get to it. So disclaimer, we're talking about the headphones that I've bought, and nobody has sent me anything to review for the video, so these are things that I've bought. So one of my essential pieces of kit that I always use when I run are some headphones, which I've always used. I'd be interested to find out if it's something that you use. Now for me, they're an essential piece of kit to make the time go fast. Now over the years I've used many types of headphones, and there are so many types, you know, some cheaper ones, some more expensive ones. Now which ones do I find are the best? If we start with something like an earbud. So over the years I've had lots of different types of earbuds. Now, what I found is that they're really good when you travel to work on a train. Now, when you run, most of the pods that I now have one earbud left, because unless you put something around your ears, they tend to fall out. So the latest mishap that I had, a pair of Samsung earbuds, and one of them fell out in the dark, and there was no chance I was going to find that. So the downside, in my opinion, to earbuds is that whilst the sound out of them, and they do have something called hear through on a lot of them, hear through is basically acts as a hearing aid where you can hear the sound around you. The sound is amplified, so you can run and you can still hear cars and people and that kind of stuff. Now the sound in these are obviously really good, and you know, they're good for everyday use. So these are not so much geared for what I want to do is when I go for a run. So the downside to pod earphones, in my opinion, is that whilst the sound out of them is really good, unless they have hear through, they can hinder you because you can't hear sounds. You have to put something, or I do, around my ears just to keep them in place, and again you're blocking out the sound. The plus side, obviously the sound on these things, depending on the brand, are fantastic. So functionality on these pod types can be hit and miss. So a lot of the time you need to be hitting your ear once or twice to skip songs or to go back. Now the problem with that again is that if you've got something around your head, a hat or a band just to keep it in place, you know, you're trying to press against the band to try to make the song skip or to go back, for example. Or when your fingers are wet, and they do get wet with sweat, again it's really difficult to be able to be pressing the side of your ear to skip a song and again to go back. So what I found is that a lot of the times when my hands are wet, even the more expensive ones, they don't tend to work as well, and they don't do what you want to do. Sometimes they even turn off the headset. So again, I think earpods are all round really good. The sound cannot be beat, I think, on these. However, just to make you aware, I think that these are hit and miss, and for me, I don't tend to go for the pods unless I have to. And I personally don't use them because when you race or when you do an event, these things are banned, so you can't actually use ear pods or earbuds in most events. A lot of the typical events, you are not allowed to use your earbuds or pods because you need to hear the sound constantly, because a lot of the time there are cars on the road, there are people, and you can be disqualified for using earpods. So I tend to not use these on the basis that when I train, I want something that I trust, something that I can use, and you're gonna have these earpods and buds and you're not going to be able to use them on the race day. So just bear that in mind. And then the next sort of type we have are these kind of the wired ones, so the typical ones that you use on your phone. So these are not something that I typically use. Where I see these used now are when people wear an arm pouch and they use their phone and they plug this into their phone. Now the downside to the wired ones, so there are kind of two types. So I have a wireless, but these are the sort of the wired ones, and these have all the functionality of an earbud and a combination of the wired earphones, but the quality of these are pretty good. The downside to these, obviously they have to be charged, but I actually quite like these. These go around the neck, all the functionality is inbuilt into these tabs here. So actually when you're playing a song, skipping a song and that kind of thing, these are really good for that. So I definitely prefer a hands-on functional control as opposed to a tap. And again, as much as these are really good, you can't use these either on a race day. So anything that goes inside your ear absolutely cannot be used on a race day. So I definitely prefer these sports types of earphones. You know, the sound out of these are really, really good. You have to charge them, obviously not as convenient as something like a wired phone there, but you know, this is a USB type C again, so this is kind of all the benefits of the sound quality of a bud, and kind of the same as a wired earphone as well. So I would probably buy these to train in, and again, this type is a Sony brand, you know, not overly expensive, still not cheap, but not overly expensive. Again, connection wise, the Bluetooth connection to your phone or to your watch is fantastic, never skips a beat, really, really, really good. But the downside to that is that this type cannot be used, again, because it's in ear, cannot be used typically in race events. To the wired headphones, you know, this is something that I used to use before I had the watch and that kind of stuff. Now when I see people use these headphones, they have the arm pouch and they have their phone in their arm or on the side with the earphones protruding out. So the good thing about that is because it's in the phone, the connection is there. The quality, again, it depends on the headphones. These are just what come with the phone. The needs are typically pretty good. There's a USB-C connection on these. Now I don't use these at all now because I don't have the phone, and even when I did take out a phone, it's not something that I would use. Now they can just pull and come out of place depending on where your phone is. They come out the ear, so again, I tend to wear something around my ears to keep these in place. So I'm not the biggest fan of these to use these out on a run. This is a last resort for me if I need to use something to run to listen to music. So the wired headphones, I think they have their place, but I think they are pretty old school now, and there are definitely better options. And then we come to the type that I always wear, and I'm biased now towards these headphones for a couple of things. So number one, so these are bone conduction headphones. Now the beauty of these is that these can be worn. I've never been to an event where these cannot be worn. So even when it says in a disclaimer that headphones are banned, bone conduction headphones are not banned. So these are after Shockz, so these are quite old now. They are of the brand Shockz, and these are quite simply the best headphones that I've ever used, I think, across the board. I think, you know, these can do so many different things, and primarily for what I want these to do, these are number one and cannot be beat. So I've taken these out for hundreds of miles, and again, they've never skipped a beat. They connect first time. They do not disconnect at all. I've taken these on a marathon. I've taken these on an ultra marathon. You know, I sweat. You know, I now do tend to wear like a headband around my head when I run. You know, it doesn't really impact the sound that much because of how you use the bone conduction. So the conduction on these is that these sit just roughly to the side of your ear, so they do not go inside the ear. Now, the downside to that is that people around you can hear what's on them. It's not super loud, and you don't need to turn them up too loud. So the sound from this particular brand is fantastic. So the plus point, again, to conversely say that these don't go into the ear, so the sound is probably not as good as something like an EarPod that will go inside of your ear. Conversely, they don't go inside your ears, so the sound isn't as loud, so actually it's probably better for your ears. Now, when you put them on, you know, they sit really nicely to the side of the ears, and as I say, because of that, and the sound is conducted through the bone in your ear and not inside the ear, again, you can hear the sound. The sound is fantastic out of these, but you can also be aware of everything around you as well. So this is why these are allowed on events. Again, in terms of functionality of these aftershocks, so the physical controls are there on the side of your head. You know, you've got the volume, the on and the off, and you've got a kind of physical switch there that you press once, twice, 3 times to skip, to go back on the song, etc. Now, I like that. I don't like too many controls on an earphone, because when you're kind of out there, all you want is something quick and it works. Again, it's never missed, it's always changed. You know, I've taken them, as I say, on really long runs, and sweat does tend to cover them. These have even been through the washing machine, and again, they're absolutely fine. You know, they are fantastic. It's a USB-C 3 charger as well, so will fit absolutely everything, and just an all-round really great experience. Now, this, again, you know, as an all-rounder, these are something I tend to wear around the house as well, because I've got children, so I'm able to listen to something in the background and also listen to the kids and the noise around the house, so I can still engage and listen to whatever I need to do. So connection wise, even to a phone, it's fantastic. You know, taking calls in it, again, is absolutely great. So all round, just an absolute brilliant headphone, and I would thoroughly recommend that you pick these up. If you're interested to know what earbuds you use when you run, stick them in the comments, and I'll be just really interested to know what you guys use. Please don't forget to like, favourite and subscribe. Please turn on the notification to know when we post something new. And thank you, and I'll see you on the next one. Take care.